Hello there, and welcome back to the Action Window with me, Action Johnny. So the day hath come, my children. Darktide is here, it's landed, and it is glorious. I've basically been no-lifing the game since I was able to get my grubby little mitts on it, and I've had to tear myself away to bring you this slice of quality content. Before we begin, please do consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the content. It appeases the dark gods of the YouTube algorithm and helps the channel grow. Also, please do keep in mind that at the time of the current recording, we are in a pre-order beta and not the full release of the game. Probably doesn't matter so much in regards to this video, but good to keep in mind nonetheless. So it already seems pretty apparent to me that there are a lot of new players to the Tide series playing in the pre-order beta, which is absolutely great. New players are the lifeblood of any game, and to see them pouring in their masses warms the cockles of my heart. That said, pickup groups are pretty wild right now. It seems clear to me that some people are wrestling a bit with the fundamentals of the game. So as someone with thousands of hours in Vermintide 2 and a regular Cataclysm difficulty enjoyer, I thought I'd take a break from the grind and share what I feel to be 10 key pieces of advice that will help you up your game, turn those wipes into clears, and get you progressing through those difficulties, baby. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1, always be in coherency. So something I've immediately noticed coming into Darktide is that you get punished really hard for running off on your own, far more than in the predecessor game Vermintide 2. So it comes as no surprise that the first tip on this list is stick to your teammates like glue. I really can't express how many advantages this has for you. It's safer. You get your aura bonus. It allows you to react to threats much more quickly. So let's say, for example, you get pounced by a dog or grabbed by a mutie. If you're near your teammates, you'll be out of that bad situation faster. The game literally can tell when you're running off on your own and will spawn enemies to kill you. The spawn generator is designed to split you up from your team, isolate you, and then kill you. So don't let it. You are so much stronger as a unit and so much weaker on your own. Number 2, learn your loadout. So Fatshark's stats are fucking useless here, but luckily for us, they have included the Psychanium to test out your gear on various enemies that gradually unlock as you progress in a level. So with this tip, what I mean is you need to learn what your weapons do. Animations are the key word here, and understanding your weapons animations will be the key to whether you live or die. You need to learn the basic attack patterns and attack combos of your melee weapon so you know which ones to use in any given situation. You should know if your weapon does anything cool with its special attack, like stagger an enemy. You should know how long roughly the lock and load animation of your gun is when you pull it out. Similarly to the melee option, what does your range special do? Is it a flashlight? Can you use a melee attack with it? As you play more and more as well, you should try to get a grasp on how many shots it takes to kill a specific type of enemy on the difficulty you're playing. This is something we refer to as breakpoints. Also important to pay attention to the talents you're selecting and whether or not they synergize with the weapon loadout you have chosen. Learning how to move, how to control the horde, and how to create space is really where the depth of these Tide games lies, so don't worry if all of this doesn't come together immediately. It's just stuff you should try to actively keep in mind if your goal is to improve with time. And the sooner you're up to speed on this, the easier time in the game you will have. Number 3, listen and tag. Sound cues are everything in this game. Learn them. There are unique noises for every special enemy. A noise that plays when you're about to be backstabbed or side-shanked. You can hear enemy footsteps approaching that alert you to their presence before they can sneak up on you. There is a plethora of info to be had just in the sound of this game alone, and attuning yourself to it will allow you to react much more fluidly. You won't learn the sound of this game overnight, but you should be trying to become as familiar as you can with it with every game of Darktide played. Also, when you do hear and spot those nasty enemies, tag them. Your team might not have heard them or be aware that they're there, and you literally have a button that's sole job is to highlight threats, so use it. Number 4, dodge. With stamina and block value being less efficient in Darktide than in Vermintide 2, dodging is now the premier defensive ability. It is the only form of counterplay you have against enemies shooting at you, and it is straight up overpowered when you have a melee weapon equipped. You'll need to learn your weapon's dodge values. They're all different, and some weapons, like the knife, have huge dodge values, making you insanely survivable. Do be aware that enemy attacks can still track you through your dodge when your gun is out, so make sure you quick swap to your melee weapon when dodging away from enemies lining up to whack you when you're shooting. Number 5. Play selfless, not selfish. Pay attention to things like your teammates' health and ammo, and don't hesitate to ask who needs grenades if you're not in need yourself. If you're in better shape than one of your teammates, you should actively be playing towards bringing them up to your level. You are exponentially more likely to survive with a fully intact team of players than you are alone or in a team missing members. And making sure a teammate in need of health or ammo actually gets it can be the difference between a wipe and a clear. So don't be a selfish dick. Share the love. Number 6. Don't play into hopeless situations. So this one is specifically looking at rezzing teammates in really dicey situations, as I've seen this quite frequently in pickup groups. Don't get yourself killed trying to do something heroic yet ultimately futile. If a teammate goes down, you will not be able to start rezzing them until all the threats are dealt with. Unless you're the Ogryn, you can easily be interrupted when rezzing in this game, and pushing into a horde of dangerous enemies to try and get a res off will absolutely get you killed, putting your team at even more of a disadvantage. Rezzes in Darktide require a team to work together. Clear the enemies around your fallen comrade, and then res when it is safe to do so. Number 7. Don't tunnel vision. This is an easy one to do if you're lost in the bloody throes of melee or just fully locked in aiming down sights on your rifle. You really want to try and always have as much situational awareness as possible. Find the time to check over your shoulder for that one enemy that's spawned behind you and is about to whack you in the back. Try to keep an awareness of where your teammates are and what kind of situation they're in. Darktide is a game which can dump a huge amount of pressure on you seemingly out of nowhere, so having generally good situational awareness outside of what you are immediately doing in the moment will allow for faster reactions, less mistakes, and less wipes. Number 8. Always keep your role on the team in mind. The class you choose to play will fit broadly into either the category of a front or back liner. Zealots and Ogryns up front, veterans and psychers in the back, generally speaking. Frontliners, your job is to protect those squishy backliners and deal with the hordes and powerful armored elites that want to close in on your team and kill you all. Pay attention to sneaky enemies that get around you and go after your fire support so you can keep those guns online. Backliners, your job is to support the front with your disruptive tools, like grenades for the veteran or the psycher's many force abilities, and remove ranged threats to the team. Specials are also going to be high on your priority list. Learn what your loadout excels versus and play into that role, allowing your team to cover your weaknesses. All this being said, never be resistant to adapting on the fly if the situation calls for it. Darktide is rarely ever predictable, and situations will arise that will require you to adapt on the fly. Number 9. Not dying is more important than doing damage. So this one should have probably been higher up on the list because it is a trap that new players fall into all the time, and actually I myself still do this as well, and that is continuing to press an attack button when you really should be playing defensively and analyzing your options instead. Sometimes this will look like trying to land one last hit on an enemy before they complete an attack animation. Sometimes it will be choosing to attack a horde when you are absolutely not in a position to do so and should be repositioning closer to your team instead. But either way, however it manifests, staying alive should always be your number one priority in Tide games, and very rarely is it ever worth sacrificing your valuable health and toughness resources to do a small amount more damage. The enemies are going to die one way or another, whether it's you or your teammates who kill them. Blocking and dodging will keep you alive for longer and thus doing more damage in the long term. So really, try not to tunnel vision too hard into I must kill this enemy I'm attacking mode, because doing so can often cause you to take unnecessary damage that, in the long term, will make it harder to stay alive across the duration of a mission, put more pressure on your team and healing resources, and increase a likelihood of going down and putting your team in a potentially lethal situation. Finally, number 10, and this one is a personal philosophy of mine. You cannot improve how others play, but you can always improve yourself. At the end of the day, no one likes wiping, and as human beings, when something bad happens to us or something goes wrong, we have a tendency to lash out and blame another person rather than focus on ourselves and ask the question of, how could I have played differently in that moment in order to have changed the outcome? A lot of the time, when you reflect upon the decisions you made and the actions you took, you'll generally figure out that there probably is something you could have done differently. What will never ever help you improve is whining and complaining vocally to your teammates. It's not going to make you better, and it's not going to make them better. If anything, it's probably going to make the whole team perform worse as a result of the negativity you've just introduced. When you go down, die, or wipe, try to be analytical about your own performance and what you could have done differently. It can be anything, really, from changing your positioning, giving a pickup to a teammate who needed it slightly more, whatever it is, whatever small detail you've overlooked, remember it for next time and learn from it. And if you embody this philosophy, you'll find that you start to win a lot more than you lose, and you'll also find that your attitude towards teammates and less skilled players will change considerably as well. Alright gang, that's going to be it for this one. If you found this helpful and you're looking for more resources on Darktide, do let me know what you'd like to see down in the comments below. I am looking to put out more guides and other kinds of helpful information towards newer players. Similarly, Tide veterans, feel free to impart tips of your own that you think would help players new to this series. As always, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.